Okay, then we'll get started, and if anyone else jumps in, they can join us and catch up on anything missed on the pre-recording. They'll go out sort of first thing tomorrow morning. Hope you're all safe and well. It's been a chaotic period since we all last spoke on our relevant courses, whether that be the December one, January, or February. Appreciate that a lot of you possibly didn't get any, or if you did, not a lot of football involved following the course. So we just wanted to put this session on just to touch up on areas of the course that you feel that you need to be recovered at a level that we can do. In an ideal world, we'd obviously have done it on a face-to-face session, but with the current climate, that's not practical, safe, nor necessary really. So we'll cover as much as we can during this session. I've got 2 pre-recorded sessions as well that I will circulate to you following this WebEx. I've got an email sat ready and waiting to go. So the moment we finish this, I'll get that sent off. So you've got 2 additional areas of content that you can review at your leisure to prepare you for everything you need. Those 2 areas are items that people have asked for to be covered tonight. So if we don't touch upon that, and I'll let you know in a moment which sessions they are. Don't worry too much that they're about 45 minutes long on each session. So there's plenty of timing there and plenty of content for you to review in your own free time. I think otherwise we could have been here for 3 or 4 hours covering over all of the content on the course as best we could. So we're going to focus on some key areas that, looking at what people requested, I felt was beneficial, as well as ones that we haven't already done pre-recorded content for. So we'll cover as much as we can tonight that people have requested and get that information out for you. In terms of just some guidelines with these WebExes, if you could just ensure your microphones are muted and cameras turned off, that avoids any sort of interruptions that may occur. And also, if anyone has some low bandwidth internet, they're not jumping in and out throughout the meeting. So I will give a little disclaimer beforehand. If I drop out for any reason, I will jump back in as best I can. But we're also joined tonight by Chris Abbott, who's our referee appointment officer, and Katie Critchley, our football development manager, who will jump in and fill in the quiet spaces where necessary. But fingers crossed that won't happen tonight, and we'll be good to go. If you've got any questions at any stage during the WebEx, get them down in the chat straight away. That way, then you don't forget them, and we can tackle them. We'll do all of the questions at the end, unless I feel that anything that pops up is relevant for the area that we're discussing, and we'll add to that. So pop your questions in the chat function, or raise your hand at the end when I ask questions. When I say raise your hand, there is a little raise your hand button that you can see on Teams. Please don't sit in your lounge and raise your hand because I can't see you. Like I've mentioned already, this is being recorded as we speak, so we'll get this tidied up and circulated out tomorrow. Once I've got it uploaded onto our YouTube channel, we'll get that sent out to you, so that if there's any content you want to go back over, again, you can do so in your own leisure. It's there for you for however long you need it to be. It won't be deleted off our YouTube channel. So additional level there for you as well. If you do drop out of the meeting, just use the link in the email address that you've used already this evening. Pop back in. Instead of the waiting room now, you'll bypass straight into the meeting. You can join in straight away where we are. Anything that you do miss, obviously, will be circulated to you tomorrow. So the areas we're going to look at sort of tonight over sort of the next hour and 15 minutes. We're going to focus on something we probably didn't cover a lot on in the course because it's not part of the course content, but it was requested by a number of people. So I thought let's spend a bit of time focused on that. And that's going to be sort of around that confident body language and how we can portray ourselves to be confident as best we can on that field of play. We'll retouch over the signals just to give you that basic understanding again there, in case anyone has sort of any questions around that. We'll touch upon some fouls and misconduct that we went through way back in that second session. We'll recap some of those areas as well. We'll touch upon the administration side of things because that's quite important and will allow you to referee, get your games and any other admin that you may need to conduct. And I'm sure at that stage Chris will jump in with his added benefit as well as the appointment officer. And then we'll touch upon sort of what is required of yourselves now, just as a recap. And also sort of highlight the mentoring as well that we're doing so that you're aware of how that's going to work and go from there. With the fouls and misconduct session that we'll touch upon as well in the email that's ready to go, the original presentation that we did way back on that second session is included on there. And then tomorrow morning when I circulate the YouTube video of this, I'll also include the video clips from that session with relevant sort of supporting notes on there as well, so that you can see that. And you can go back through those clips in your own free time where necessary. So two of the areas we're not going to cover tonight, but are pre-recorded, ready, raring to go for your use. Laws of the game changes from this current season, as well as return to football guidance for COVID-19. And then we've also put together an offside and assistant refereeing workshop that was designed for club assistant referee use, but goes into great detail on that offside law for you that you can use, and will give you that understanding of acting as assistant referee as well, just to touch upon that learning and remind you of that additional thing. So there's about 45 minutes to an hour on each of those videos, so use them in your own time as and when you want to. I don't expect you to sit on tonight's session and sit on those two as well, and do them in your own time when necessary, but ideally you want to be looking at those before we go out, particularly that laws of the game and the return to football one. That's quite an important video that we do want you to see, and it will give you the guidance on what you will need to do as a match official when returning back onto that field of play in the current environment. So we're going to dive straight in, and we're going to sort of look around this confident body language and how this can impact us, how this can benefit us, and how we can do that when we're not necessarily feeling confident in the decisions that we've given. So when we talk about confident body language, we're talking about how we appear to the players, the managers, the spectators, or parents, as is the case for the majority of yourselves. And it's how we look when we're given a decision. Do we look assured? Do we look awake the decision when we're giving it? Do we look focused? Are we engaged with the game of football, or are we getting a bit lazy and a bit tired? Okay, so when we give that decision, we need to ensure that even if we're not sure the decision we're giving, if we portray that level of confidence, it shows knowledge and assurance to those individuals around. And whether you've got the decision right or not, if you show that level of body language that helps with that decision making, then they'll believe anything that you give, and will alleviate any slight questions that may come your way from those parties involved. So that good, strong body language gives us that confidence and appearance, even if it's not necessarily in our mind when we're giving that decision. So we might give a defensive free kick, but we're not too sure whether it was a defensive one or not. Okay, and it might not be a free kick. It might be we've given it. We've got to stick with our guns. We've got to appear confident in the decision that we've made, and we've got to ensure that if we are confident in ourselves, everyone else will be confident with us as well. If you've got any sort of doubt that's shown on your face or in your shoulders or how you're stood, then that will portray back onto the players, and that's when you might start then getting those questions asked as to whether you're sure that you've given the right decision. Helps our ability for that decision making as well, because if we are, like I've said, looking confident, then the questions will be less, and it limits those appeals as well. But ultimately as well, if we are confident in the decision that we give and we appear confident, it maintains our control of the game. We don't lose it slightly, and we don't have any sort of impact from the continual questions that we might get if we're looking a little bit uninterested or not too sure in the decision that we give. So in terms of that confident body language, we want to have it from the moment we arrive at the ground. If we turn up and we're not looking too interested, we're not looking like we're ready to referee a game of football, our first contact that we have with that, whether that be the managers, the players, the welfare officer, the COVID officer, the spectators, they're going to pick up on that. And we don't want you to rock up on a game and feel like you're not confident in what you're about to go out and do. Obviously, the more you do it, the more confident you'll feel, and the more natural it will feel to you as well. But for those first couple of times, try and appear as confident as you can be, and we'll touch upon sort of how we can portray that in a moment as well. Be confident with those pre-match instructions when we're sort of advising our assistant referee the roles and responsibilities we want them to do. So remember, it's ball and out of play, pretty much everything there, and offsides. Okay, remember, we don't want them getting involved in free kick management or recognising those fouls. That's purely for us. So we need to be confident when we're giving those decisions, so that when they're going away to their touch lines, they can have that confidence in you that you're going to be able to lead the team of three that you're going to be working in, and they're going to trust your decision making and support you with that as best you can. Biggest one though, sort of as I've mentioned probably multiple times in the first sort of 5-10 minutes, is when we're giving those decisions during a game. If we're giving that free kick or that throw in, and even if we're not 100% sure, we have to look confident. We have to appear confident to ensure that those players, the spectators, and the managers have faith in the decision making that we give. And finally, it's that post-match. So whether that's that fist elbow bumps, that conversation that we're having after the game with the managers, if they're questioning why certain decisions have been given. Again, if you remain confident in how you're describing those incidences and how you're talking to them, they'll have faith that you have given the right decision, whether they sort of agree with it or not. And finally, when we're leaving the ground, we want to remain confident right until that moment we get back in the car, or until we get on our bike and cycle away, or walk away, or however it is you've got to the ground. Have that confidence the moment you arrive to the moment you leave, because you're likely to go back there again. And if they see you after that chat, your confidence drops and your shoulders go sluggish, they might pick up on that, and they might try and use that next time as a sign of weakness. And we don't want that. I'm sure the games that you'll go out and do, you'll do with to the best of your ability. And when the mentors arrive, they'll be able to reassure you of that as well and give you that positive feedback. So make sure that confidence is there from start to finish. I mentioned a lot about how we can sort of, or what we need to do to be confident and when we need to be confident, but how do we actually appear confident even when we're not? So stand tall, shoulders back, chin up, make ourselves look nice and broad. If we're sort of slumped over shoulders wise and our arms are tucked in and our chin, we're looking down at the floor, that sort of shows that we're not too sure with what we're doing. Okay, plenty of standing up, make that eye contact with the individuals, and when you give that decision, be confident, be clear and crisp as well. Don't fidget. So sometimes you'll find when you're nervous or you're unsure, people, I know I'm bad at it, bite your nails or pick at something or fiddle a pen or anything of that nature. Obviously on a field of play, it might be just the way that you shuffle around on the football pitch, the way you move can have an impact and can show sort of unsureness and a lack of confidence. If we're trying to describe a decision or a situation that may have happened in the game, speak slowly, speak clearly. If we're rushing the conversation, again, they might see it as a way of you trying to hurry the conversation up, a way of that you're not too sure on what you're saying. Be calm, take your time, think about what you're saying, speak clearly, and they'll fall in line with that as well. And keep your hands visible as well. So if we're talking that, let's not put them in our pockets, let's not behind our back or on our hips. Let's shoulders back, chin up, arms by our side. Be aware of what your hands are doing. Okay. And if it's giving signals during the game, make sure they're nice, crisp, clear, and straight. Nice and firm, like we taught you many months ago. We don't want these bent elbows. We want them nice, straight arms, because again, that helps with the shoulders coming back and the shoulders coming up, and the chin coming up as well, and helps make you look confident in your decision making. And ultimately, you've got that whistle. Be strong with it. Be firm with it if you need to use it. If it's for a free kick or a ball in an out of play situation, be strong with that whistle as best you can. So linking into that sort of clear, straight signals, we're just going to sort of recap upon them now. The decisions that you will give during the game, the signals you need to give from the feedback that we've had from some of the mentors that have been out already. Signals sometimes has been the odd one or two that people have forgotten. So I think it's important that we do touch upon that. So your penalty kick, if you remember, is pointing straight down at the spot in front of you. Again, a nice straight arm to ensure that confidence is portrayed. Your indirect free kick is straight up in the air, arm sort of pressed against the side of your ear as best you can. So it's nice and straight, no bent elbows, nothing out to the side, nice and straight up in the air. Direct free kick is at a 90-degree angle, sort of parallel with your shoulder, keeping it nice and square on. Again, nice straight arm like in the decision there. There's no bent elbow within that image there. Your advantage is your two arms out in front of you, as if you're holding a tray of tea. If you remember, I'm going to start coming on to we spoke about the dance moves and how the sort of the dance moves within signalling can work to help you remember. Corner kick with that dance move, if you remember, was half of a night fever. So you're pointing up in the air, nice and high. And your penalty kick, your penalty kick with touched upon already. So that should be goal kick. Your goal kick is pointing down with an open palm as well, looking down at you, which, if you remember, as we spoke about, is half the Macarena. All right. So remember, your half your night fever dance move, which we sort of realised on the course that most of you are probably too young to remember. But parents, I'm sure now is a great opportunity where you can remind them of the dance move from the 80s, 90s, and stuff like that, where they're pointing up in the air. And after Macarena as well, you can have some fun in the lounges tonight and try and remember those signals and dance moves and have a bit of a laugh as well. So, skipping on to fouls and misconducts, this is probably the biggest part of tonight's session because it is quite important, and we'll give it a good recap and cover it in a sort of similar style to the way we do on that first or second classroom session following that introductory session that we run. Again, though, this will be circulated to you in that format that we ran on that day later tonight, so that you can recap that whole presentation with the additional items that we won't touch upon within this session that you did touch upon that night as well to recap. So in order to give that decision, we need to see it. We need to recognise that decision has taken, or that foul or that infringement has taken place. We need to think in many different ways, and we need to recognise that the foul has actually taken place as well. Okay, or act. Okay, and act upon that. So, C. In order to see, we need to ensure we are up with play. Our fitness is of a high standard. We're not 30, 40, 50 yards away from play. Okay, we need to ensure that we have that credible position to give that decision as best you can by having that fitness to keep up with play and move around. By being fit and being able to move around the field of play, you'll give yourselves those appropriate viewing positions. If you remember when we spoke about viewing positions, we spoke about creating that angle on play because we don't want to be too narrow on and we don't want to be too close. When you review the presentation from that session, you'll remember that we focused on the Nelson Mandela statue and how when we saw it was when we were stood too close, we couldn't work out what that statue was. But the further away we got, the clearer the image became. But the further we went on, the more blurred and less clear that image became. So get that right viewing angle, get that right position, allows you to see everything as clearly as you possibly can. Focus on those drop-in zones. So focus on where the ball is likely to land, where it's going to go next. Primarily thinking of those where it's coming in from a corner or a goal kick or a long ball at the field of play, because those areas where the ball comes into that drop-in zone and where the ball's going to land and where those players are going to contest, there's the chance there that there's going to be an infringement take place, whether that be a push in the back or an elbow or something of that nature, or a climbing offence. By being aware of where the ball is going to land, and you can use the position of players to help you with that, we can ensure that we don't miss any infringements taking place there as well. Remember to keep that trailing eye when a ball has been played out and you're looking for that late challenge that may come in on the player that has just played the ball. The majority of challenges, or probably half the challenges that come in, are possibly slightly late tackles where the ball has been played and the defender comes in and catches the player instead of the ball. We need to be aware of that, and we need to make sure that we're watching that situation whilst also being aware of where the ball is about to go as well, so that we can react to either situation developing in front of us. Linked into both of those, we're reading and we're anticipating the play, and we're working out how that play is going to develop around us, whether they're going to play it short around the back or whether they're going to go long, and we need to ensure that we're getting in those right positions. If we're focusing our positional play around that back line, that defensive positional sense, and suddenly they pump the ball long, you're potentially 30 or 40 yards out of play. We need to make sure that we're recognising when the ball is going to be played and trying to ensure that we get up there ready for those challenges that might come into place. They can be quite difficult, particularly at an early age, and particularly when in youth football, where there's possibly not quite so much structure in their play, and it's a bit more hopeful. But try and use the signals of where players are standing or where they're moving to, and whether a player is looking up a lot and looking for those long ball opportunities, or whether they're looking to clip it down the line, or whether they're looking to pass it along the back. That allows us to get into those positions to ensure that we can see any of those danger zones within that drop-in area that we may be looking for. Once we've seen that foul, and once we've done all of that, that happens, we need to recognise that the foul has taken place. And one easy one here that can help us is messages from players. Now, messages from players aren't always correct, so it's trying to work out where those best ones are. And it can be fairly, when it works really well. And it's just recognising whether a player's made a genuine attempt for the ball. They tend to put their hands in the air when they're guilty. Players don't tend to put their hands in the air if they're innocent of an offence. So be aware of that. Look at how they're reacting after a tackle's gone in. If they're pointing at the ball before you even blow the whistle, the chances are that they've not won the ball. Situations like that can help us understand that a foul has taken place and we can recognise that situation happening. Recognising the speed of the challenge does have an impact on sort of our decision making, whether we go for that, just a free kick, a yellow card or red card, and we'll touch upon that in a bit more detail shortly. But recognising whether the player is coming from a long distance at pace or whether they're coming from a short distance but have also sort of led into the challenge a little bit as well. Ultimately, though, we've got to recognise whether the challenge is fair or whether there has been a foul taken place. Once we've recognised that that's taken place, we need to think about what we're going to do. Take our time. We need to understand whether we are going to give a free kick, whether we're going to play advantage, whether there's no foul at all. If there is a foul, is it just a free kick? Is it a yellow card? Is it a red card? Is it, if it's not a yellow card offence for that particular tackle in particular, has a player been fouling quite regularly, quite recently? In which case, do we perhaps need to think about using the captain to try and warn that player, or perhaps it's gone past that stage and we might need to caution that player for persistently infringing the laws of the game? We've got a lot to think about in that short period. And for those of you that have probably gone out and refereed already, and I know a couple of you have, when you're in the game, you've got a lot more time than you probably realise, and you can work through that process fairly quickly in your head. You can recognise that and you can come to that decision in a suitable amount of time as well. You've probably got about 2 to 3 seconds after each decision to consider all of the situations there. And obviously, if you recognise it's a foul and you're going through those other criteria of, right, is it a yellow? Is it a red card? Have they committed a lot of offences? You've got a bit more time. You can take as long as you need. Particularly if a player's down injured, you can get the treatment on. You can take your time and you can think, and you can come to that conclusion nice and calmly and sensibly. Linking into that speed of the challenge, we need to consider the severity of that foul that's taken place as well. So has it come in at pace? Has it come in late? Is it just a trip? Is it a shirt pull? Is it something a lot more severe than that as well? Take your time to consider that. Think it through. Don't rush to a decision. But 99 times out of 100, your gut will tell you what that decision is before your mind needs to. And in situations like that, always trust your gut. Your gut is rarely wrong when you're out on a football pitch. Think about that next phase of play. Think about, is there an opportunity here to play that advantage to allow them to have that clear goal scoring opportunity? Are they good on the ball from free kicks? Okay, there might be a good advantage, but if you've noticed that their striker hasn't been at the races today, but they've been quite good from those attacking free kicks in and around the penalty area, you might go, well, there's a good advantage, but I'm going to give the free kick because they're going to have more chance of scoring a goal from that situation as well. Ultimately, though, think, are we credible? Is it credible for me to give this decision here? Are players going to generally accept it? Am I in the right position to give it? Is it better for me to give it, or is it better for the assistant to give it? So that's not just linking into the fouls and misconducts, that's linking into corners, throw-ins, goal kicks. Sometimes the assistant referee is far closer, far more credible to give that decision, in which case follow with them. But on a fouls and misconduct session, am I up with play? Have I got a good angle on the ball? Is it right that I come in there and give that decision? If you answer yes to all of those, then give the decision and then think about those other options that you need to think about. Ultimately, though, it's about your control. And if you feel that there is a good advantage, but you need to caution that player because they're asking for cautions, they're expecting a caution for that tackle, don't be afraid to stop play, administer the caution and give the free kick. All right, and you'll see when you watch the laws of the game change, there's been a slight change this year around playing advantage and coming back and issuing a card. But I won't touch upon that in this session. I'll let you go away and investigate that in that area there. If you've got any questions after that, then do drop us an email. Once you've thought, you need to act upon that decision and that thought process, and give that decision making correctly. Use your whistle, nice, clear, strong whistle to alert all the players. Use your arms to give that signal so they're aware of the direction of the free kick. And use your voice to communicate what you've given it for as well. And if there's multiple players that could have committed the offence, advise the players around you which one it is that has committed. So number 9, you trips the defender or the attacker, so on and so forth. That way then that stops any questions coming to you, because you've answered any questions that they could possibly have had beforehand. Remain calm. Can sometimes, particularly when you're just starting out, if tempers raise and people start getting a bit loud, that we can perhaps follow suit. But remember, we're there to set an example. We're there to lead the way of the game. And if our sort of mannerisms rise and we start to get frustrated and use that frustration and show that frustration, players are going to get frustrated, managers are going to get frustrated, spectators are going to get frustrated. We just need to remain calm, build upon what we've sort of touched upon already, build upon the levels that we touched upon in the course, and use your body language and use your confidence to remain calm, give those decisions, and be confident in doing so. Linking onto that, think about what we spoke about right at the start of this session, where we want to have that confidence, we want to display that confidence in that decision making. And sometimes you will need to be firm when you're giving those decisions, but remember to be firm, be calm at the same time, but also be fair as well with that. And sort of the best thing that I can sort of recommend is have an understanding of where they're coming from with their argument, because whether you will always understand where they're coming from and their point of view with that, but sometimes saying, I understand where you're coming from, however, I've seen this, they can't really argue with that, and they can't really come against you. You can only give what you see from your position. You can understand where they're coming from, perhaps from where they're stood and where they've seen the foul take place. Have that little bit of empathy, have that little bit of a caring nature in terms of having that understanding there, and understanding how their point of view from what has happened is likely to be different from what you've seen, because they've got that different angle. Linking back to the Nelson Mandela statue, if you're all stood at a different angle, you're all going to see a slightly different image. And remember that. Remember that if managers are asking a question over a decision, it's because they've seen it in a different angle from a different way to how you've seen it. So once we've thought about what we're going to give and we've acted upon that and we've given that decision, we need to think about whether it was just a foul, a yellow card, or a red card. And if you can remember, there's 3 terms that we use during the course. There's careless, reckless, and excessive force. I'm just going to touch upon what those mean once again, just so that you've got them clear in your mind. And again, you can review these in the fouls and misconduct session. It's all going to be on the follow-up email from this session. So careless is when a player has shown a lack of attention or consideration when making a challenge, or they have acted without precaution. And for that, we're just going to give a direct free kick or a penalty kick. Okay. So key words within there is the lack of attention or consideration and acted without precaution. Okay, so we're trying to remember those key words, try and get them ingrained in your mind, ready for those games, so that you can recognise those types of challenges. The careless challenges are the majority of challenges that we see for the majority of the game. They're your little careless trips or your occasional late tackles when they're just trying to block the ball, or the attacker's just been slightly too quick for them. Okay, it's the majority of fouls that we see. Your next step up is that reckless challenge, and it's when the player is acted with complete disregard to the dangers to or the consequences for their opponent. And when that situation arises, we're going to award a direct free kick or a penalty, and we're going to issue a yellow card as well. So again, key words within there is that complete disregard and danger to. Okay, they're the ones where they've been a little bit more rash with the challenge. They've potentially slid in a little bit too much. They're stopping a promising attack, as in they've pulled someone back as they're going through a goal from an angle or wide. It's a situation where you might get 2 or 3 of these situations happen in a game, nowhere near as much as your careless situations. And finally, your final step up is that excessive force challenge, and that's any player who lunges at an opponent from the front, from the side, or from behind, so effectively from any direction, using one or both legs with excessive force and endangering the safety of an opponent. And with that, we're going to award that direct free kick or penalty, and a red card is going to follow suit as well. Okay, so again, the key words there are that lunges from the front, side, or behind, so any direction. One or both legs is important as well, and it clearly endangers the safety of an opponent. Okay, so clearly endangers and lunges are the main keywords there that we want to try and sort of ingrain within ourselves, ready for when we go out the field of play. So when we're considering those types of challenges, whether it's reckless or excessive force, we need to consider the speed and intensity of those challenges. Legs need to play a part. Where are they? How high up are they? Is it one or both? Are they coming from speed? Are they off the floor? Where are their feet? Are their feet raised up? Are they stood showing, or have they got sort of their laces showing a bit? Are they coming in from a side sweeping motion? Where are their feet located? And again, are they high up? Are they showing danger? How far is that player coming from a tackle? And I'm going to show you a video in a moment just to get you thinking, and ask for your views in the comments. So get that comment section open and ready for just a second. But has that player coming from great distance at speeds, or have they coming from such a short distance but with a lunging motion? Both can be negative. Both can have that negative impact and cause that danger. And sort of touched upon with the legs and the feet, how high up are they? Are they down on the floor, or are they quite high up on the player's ankles, player's shins? Is that causing a danger there? So we're going to watch a quick clip. Like I say, get the comment section open. Once we've seen the clip, I want you to tell me whether you see that as a careless, reckless, or excessive force challenge, and just some small words why you feel that is. Okay, and we'll touch upon those shortly. And we'll give some feedback on those as well. This is where we find out whether you're listening or not. And I want you to consider when you're watching as well, why is this taking place? How has this happened? Okay, so we'll watch it again. And we'll watch it one more time. Okay, 30 seconds or so. Get some comments in the chat. Katie, Chris, Colin, get involved as well. Let's see what your views are. I'm going to come to you three as well, particularly Katie, if she's still in here, and we'll see where we go with that. See people start recording. Oh, go on, Carol. I see you've raised your hand. Is that right, or did you press the wrong button? If you unmute yourself, if you've got a question, we'll fire away while we're opening this up.
I can't get a comments button. The thing is just whirling round and round. I can't type anything.
Right. Okay. No problem at all then. I'll come to Callum verbally then. So if Callum gets some ideas down on paper or something, I'll come and ask his opinion verbally if the chat's not working. Is the chat working for anyone? No, hang on a minute. I see why. Someone muted me chat. Try now. It should be working now. To glitch you, was it? Okay. Unmute. Save. There we go. Chat's on. Chat's open. Sorry, I didn't realise that was closed off. So if you didn't see it clearly, don't worry. Okay, it was bouncing a lot around. Okay, apologies. What we'll do is I'll skip over that. Have a look at it when it comes through tomorrow. Drop me your thoughts on an email, and I'll come back to each of you individually and sort of give you feedback based on your answers there. That's probably the best way. Unfortunately, the video clips on these sessions don't quite work as planned. I won't touch upon it now. Like I say, I'll let you come back with your feedback first, and then I'll come back to you and offer any guidance on there, just so you understand those types of challenges as well that we might see on a match day. So just to recap sort of over those areas, we need to see, we need to recognise that foul, we need to think about what we're going to do, and we need to act upon that decision that we see as well. Okay, remember, we've got careless, we've got reckless, and we've got excessive force. That careless one is where the player has shown a lack of attention or consideration when making a challenge, or they've acted without that precaution. Reckless is that player has acted with complete disregard to the danger to or the consequences for their opponent. And excessive force is when any player who lunges an opponent from the front, from the side, or from behind, using one or both feet or legs with excessive force and endangers the safety of an opponent. Okay, they're the 4, effectively 7 areas that we need to consider when that foul comes in, and that whether that's for every foul that comes in. We might straight away go, that's just a careless foul. You don't need to then think about the other areas, but you've already seen, you've already recognised it, you've already had that thought process. Now let's act upon it and give that free kick. Okay. So we're going to touch upon the administration side of things now as well, and how that works, so that you can ensure that you get your appropriate games to get your final 5 in, get converted and complete your training and become qualified referees. So we use an online system for availability that hopefully the majority of you have seen already, called pitchsidereferees.co.uk. I'm going to show you it now so that you are aware of what you're looking at, in case it's something you've not seen before. But it's an online calendar where we can see when you are available. So you can see here on my calendar, I'm sure if I refresh it, it's going to log out. So let me log back in. Yeah. So we've got, when it gets there, we've got a calendar system here. You can see there, I've closed the date on the afternoon last Saturday. All we need to do is, if we know we're going to be unavailable for the 10th of October, for instance, is we click on that date there and we advise whether we are unavailable in the all day, morning, afternoon, or a combination of any of those, and the evening as well. Okay, so for instance, if I'm unavailable next Saturday for work, I literally just select those sections, press add close date, and that pops up on our calendar as a nice big amber section, because we're only available or unavailable for half of the day. That then allows us, so we can see from our side when you are available, and we know not to give you a game on that date because you've told us you're not available. If I wanted to close the whole day, I'd leave it as that, change my reasons. So for instance, work or personal, add close date, and you'll see there it goes red. If you know you're available every Saturday and every Sunday, and you're not going to be unavailable for a considerable while, you don't need to do anything. You can leave this calendar nice and clear like this, and it will appear fairly clearly, and your fixtures will pop up where appropriate. Okay, really simple system, and hopefully one that you can all get into and use, and you've seen now as well. So all of the leagues locally use this system, so please do ensure that you are aware, and I know many of you have had games already. Please ensure that that's used as best you can. There's an example of how it looks from your side when you get games. I'm using one of our other referees here, but you can see that the fixtures start popping up on here, as well as green tabs when games have been given. Looks like this referee is very busy, or was very busy on Sunday with 5 games of football. Fair play to them. But you can see there when we've got a game come through and he hasn't yet confirmed that game, it sits in there yellow, and the fixture details sit here at the top as well. For those of you involved in our county leagues or our adult football on a Saturday, you'll be familiar with this because you've started using this already. With our Colts League, this will be coming into play over the coming weeks in terms of your fixture confirmation and such. For those of you that are on the Peterborough Junior Alliance or Peterborough Youth League, I don't believe they're using this functionality just yet, and they're remaining on email for that. But you can see here, this referee's closed all of his afternoons or evenings for work during the week, so we know not to appoint him to any games during those sessions, as well as Sunday mornings. When it comes to closing those dates, if you're on the Colts League or the County League, they need to be closed by the 4 p.m. on the Friday the week prior. So, for instance, we need to close them by 4 p.m. this Friday for Saturday the 10th or Sunday the 11th of October. The reason for that is that we do our appointments, or Chris does his appointments over the weekend in advance, and they'll get circulated either on the Saturday, Sunday or Monday for that. If any close dates go on the system after that date, they don't always get picked up, and Chris probably won't look at pitch sides after that Friday the 4th because he'll put his report off and he'll see who's available. If you do need to close after that 4 p.m. Friday deadline, such as on the Saturday or Sunday, whether you've got injured on the game or something else has happened, drop an email to Chris in that time frame and let him know you're no longer available. That'll be fine. If you're closing later in the week, I'll touch upon that shortly as well. There's a slightly different process that you do need to follow with that. So for Colts League, our appointments are always released on a Monday morning, and Chris will get them out via email full time and then long term, and the email will be replaced by pitch side. So, for example, next Monday they'll come out Monday the 5th, ready for Saturday and Sunday the 10th and 11th respectively. If after your appointment has been released and you've had that email advising you're on a game, you need to ring Chris Abbott on either of those 2 numbers to let him know that you're coming off the game and the reasons why. The reason why we say to ring is we get a lot of emails during the week, as I'm sure you can imagine, on various different items, and the occasional one when it comes to fixture withdrawals can get missed. When you ring him, that phone call can't get missed and he'll always return your call. If you leave him a voicemail, he will always acknowledge that he's picked up your voicemail as well via text or email to confirm that. If you've left him an email or a voicemail and he hasn't got back to you to confirm within 24 hours, just drop him a quick phone call again, just to prompt him, just in case that has been missed as well. On the other hand, if you're all good to go and you're happy to do that game, you've got no issues, your calendar's all up to date correctly, you just need to confirm that appointment with Chris as soon as possible. For the County League, so our Saturday adult football, that's via pitch side. For those of you in the Colts League and the Youth League, that's via email at present, but will soon be on pitch side in the coming weeks. An important one to note here is if any of your kickoff times change, so if you're appointed to a game and it comes through as a 10 o'clock kickoff, however, the club get in touch and tell you it's now an 11 o'clock kickoff, can you please drop an email to referees@cambridgeshirefA.com? That's important because when we're organising our mentors, we want to do so in confidence that the kickoff times that we have got are correct. We can only go off those times that are on pitch on full time. And if they are incorrect for whatever reason, then we don't want to be sending a mentor to a game too early or too late. We had an instance on the first week where a mentor arrived and missed the first 15-20 minutes. We had an instance on Saturday which we caught upon beforehand, fortunately, but kickoff was moved from a 10 o'clock kickoff to an 11:30. And obviously, if we're getting a mentor to the ground for 9:45 and they've got to hang around for an hour and 45 minutes, they tend not to be too happy and won't hang around to mentor at 11:30 predominantly. So if your kickoff does change, just drop us a gentle email just to let us know. And then if we do get around to getting a mentor to you, we've got the correct details we can work from. If we don't hear anything, we'll send them at the standard time, and we'll send you an email confirming their arrival and what time they're going to be there and key details as well. So you've got that. So if anything does change last minute, you've got their details and you can let them know. So a couple of the questions that have come back from those that have come off the course pre-lockdown. No need to submit any scores after the game. That's completely up to the two teams. The only time you might get an email from the league is if the teams submit different scorelines, in which case they'll come to you for clarity. So keep those details yourself just so you've got them, but no need to submit them after the match. That's up to the clubs to do. The only thing you do need to submit after a game is if you have had any yellow or red cards. Okay, and if you do have any, you need to go through our FA whole game system, and guidance will be circulated tomorrow with the recording of this video on how to do so. When it's your first time, drop us an email. We can run through with you on a similar format to this. We can do a screen share with you and walk you through that process when it does become your first time, because the chances are, particularly for our younger referees amongst us tonight, that might not be for a year or two. So it's going to be a long while yet until you potentially submit that caution or that red card. So don't be afraid to get in touch with us on that email address there, referees@cambridgeshirefa.com, and we'll happily assist where we can. In terms of post-course options, so where do we go from here? For those of you that haven't done so already, and again, when we send out that, there'll be 2 emails tomorrow. There'll be the one confirming with this link on for our YouTube recording of this, and there'll be a follow-up email just advising if you've got any requirements outstanding for safeguarding, whether that be your Safeguarding for All, which used to be called our Introduction to Safeguarding for Children. If that needs completing, I will send the relevant details and guidance for that. For those of you that are over 16 or have turned 16 since the course, we need to get you DBS checked. Again, guidance will follow suit with that as well, should you need to do that. If any of you are involved in clubs, do reach out to your clubs as well, as they can assist in that process to save you trying to arrange a different meet-up point with someone else in the county. Importantly, though, complete those 5 games. Get out there, get refereeing, put the skills you've learnt back on your course, and hopefully tonight refreshed. Get those 5 games in. They can be competitive games, they can be friendlies. It can be, if it's a friendly and there's 2 or 3 of you that are mates and are looking to get you 5 games in together, split that game off into thirds and referee a third each and tick that off as one of your games. If you do 5 of those each, there's 3 of you there that have converted and completed the course at the same time. Remember though, 9v9 or 11v11 games with offsides, they're important because that's what the course was on. When you've done that, please do let us know. We don't know when you've completed your games. We have a lot of trainee referees throughout the season that we need to follow up on, because there's so many referees and because we have so much to focus on as well. We can't always check on full time, and sometimes if they're a friendly, they're not going to be on full time. So please drop us an email when you've completed those 5 games. All you need to do is let us know the date the game was on and the 2 teams, and then any comments you might have with that as well. One thing you need to do as well is complete the online exam. Okay, so that's been moved from a face-to-face session to an online exam because of the current situation. Again, the link for that will be on the email circulated tonight. You don't need to complete your 5 games until you don't need to wait until you've completed your 5 games, to do the exam. You can do the exam tonight if you want. You can do it tomorrow. Do it as quickly as you can, and then when you've done your 5 games, you can let me know and we can get that signed off and completed as quickly as possible. With the exam, there's 42 multiple choice questions. Upon completion of the exam, it will automatically mark the exam paper for you and will provide you with the correct and incorrect answers. One thing that's going to be on the email is a link to the laws of the game. If you do have any questions that you have answered incorrectly, it will tell you the correct answer on there, but take the time to flick through the laws of the game and understand why you got that question wrong. Okay, so that you're prepared for when you go into a game and you can understand that decision and why you're giving that decision in case anyone asks. And whether you did it back before lockdown or not, it's always good to remind yourself of the SIMBIN procedure with its use. The link for that again is going to be on the email tonight that gets circulated at the end of this meeting. Is fareferees.co.uk. It's an online module. Flick through it, remind yourselves of how the SIMBIN process works. It's something that you will need to know how to use should you need to use it. Okay, it's got a couple of different variants of how it can impact a game, so make sure you're aware of those processes. Linking into our mentoring that we've touched upon already, our mentoring appointments, we tend to leave them fairly late in the week, that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday release. That's purely because that's when we tend to have the majority of the referee appointments confirmed. If there's any kickoff changes, we know by that period, and we know which mentors are free as well by that period as well. So we tend to email out our mentors a selection of about 10 games each week, depending on their location. They will pick which one they want to go to, and then from there we'll advise them who the referee is, and we'll copy them in an email onto yourself, so you've all got each other's contact details should there be any problems on match day, and so they can let you know when they're arriving and how they're going to conduct the feedback as well. Obviously, with COVID-19 in play and how we've got to consider that, and depending on how comfortable you are, the guidance to our mentors has been to provide that feedback at a 2 metre socially distanced place whilst wearing face masks. If you feel more comfortable doing so, then that feedback can be conducted later in the day via telephone conversation as well. And if it is done so, please make sure that it is, for those of you under the age of 18, you're providing the parents' phone number as well. And it's on loudspeaker, so the parents are aware of the conversation that's taking place as well with that. So that's how they've been advised to do so. Ideally, we'd prefer it to be done on the match day, socially distanced, to avoid any sort of telephone conversations. But come the winter, when it gets a little bit wet, gets a little bit windy, gets a little bit cold, obviously we can't use indoor facilities at the moment, so that might be an option that we might need to do as well. As mentioned already, if your kickoff does just change and is different to that advertised on full time, please do let us know as soon as you can. After the mentor has been and provided feedback to you, they submit a nice simple form to me, and I save that and email it over to you. So that will be with you within 3 working days. So it'll always be with you by the Wednesday, as long as they've submitted it in time for me. If not, I'll be chasing them and getting that to you as soon as possible. Just so you're aware of sort of what we've got to do this year, we've got 53 trainee referees currently sat on the system. We've completed 8 mentor visits, and all 8 of those individuals that have been seen are ready for conversion. We're just waiting on the system to allow us to update us. Our aims are always to try and get a mentor to come and visit you within your first 5 games. Depending on where those first 5 games are and the location of our mentors, that may not always be possible. So it may be in your 6th, 7th or 8th game following that. We're working on bringing in our mentor workforce and recruiting strongly for that. Last year we recruited 25 new mentors. The majority of our mentors are also active referees still. We've got 2 or 3 individuals that are no longer active referees, or at least don't referee youth football, who are used on a regular basis, and those are the ones are available on an ad hoc basis. So if you don't get one in your first 5 games, don't be concerned. I'm keeping tabs on it and I'm aware of where you roughly are. Please do let us know where those 5 games have been completed though, and we'll get a mentor out if we haven't done so as soon as we possibly can from that as well. The 3 courses we conducted, which is where the majority of these 53 trainees come from, were conducted in Chatteris, Saffron Walden and in Northstowe. So we've got north, south and the centre of Cambridge to cover between those mentors, and we are more mentor heavy in the centre and the south of the county. In the north, obviously we're not quite as lucky with our mentor front, but we're working with the local leagues up there to support with that and get you that support and ensure that you do get a mentor within those first couple of games. That will happen. It might just be in that 6th, 7th or 8th game from there. Linking into your appointments and who you need to contact, there's 3 here. There's also one additional one that I've been speaking to tonight that I will provide details for in the email for those of you based in the south west of the county. But the Cambridgeshire Colts League, you've got ourselves that appoint that. We appoint that centrally from our virtual now office. Chris does them from home. And they're under 12s to under 16s play on a Saturday morning exclusively. And the reason why I've put that is for those of you that might be on the course that are within sort of that age bracket of playing, that's something you need to sort of consider of how you're going to fit your referee appointments in around playing, because if you're 14 or 15, you can only referee those age groups below you and they play at the same time as you. So you need to have a think about how you might manage that situation. to get those 5 games in. If you're over the age of 16, obviously you've got a bit more flexibility and you can venture into that Sunday AM stuff. For those of you in the north of the county that came off our Chatteris course, you've got the Peterborough Junior Alliance, which I believe many of you have already been in touch with Simon Lilly. Their under 7s to under 10s play on Saturday mornings. That's mini soccer football, so it doesn't count towards your 5 games, but it's valuable experience that you can use to develop and build that confidence level. Your under 11s to under 14s play on a Sunday morning and afternoon. So for those of you that might play in the Cambridgeshire Colts League, you've got a great opportunity there to go and sort of referee on a Sunday alongside your playing commitments. Alternatively, though, if you play on a Sunday in the Peterborough Junior Alliance, in that under 14 age bracket, I don't think no one would be involved in that. Ignore that. For those of you on the Peterborough Peterborough Youth League that could officiate that under 15 to under 18 bracket, they play Sunday morning and afternoon as well. So if you're 16 or 17 and play within that Peterborough District Youth League, you've got that great opportunity there with the Peterborough Junior Alliance on a Saturday morning for the mini soccer, or our Colts League teams that play within the north of the county as well within that. There's actually 2 additional leagues as well that I've not included on this, which I've neglected to put in, but I will include on the email. You've got the Hunts Youth League, which play on the Sunday as well, for all age groups. So again, is a good opportunity there. And for those of you in the southwest of Cambridgeshire, you've got the Royston Crow League as well, which have a good split on Saturday and Sunday as well, similar to the Peterborough region as well. So again, if you're playing in Cambridge on those dates to get your 5 games in, you might need to go to the Hunts Youth League, Peterborough Junior Alliance, or the Royston Crow to fit those games in around your playing commitments on those different days. All contact details and relevant timeframes for those particular age groups are going to be included in that follow-up email. That pretty much brings us to the end of the session. The other 2 key areas, like I've mentioned, that people asked a lot for are in those pre-recorded sessions, which are going to be circulated shortly after this email. So do please check in on them at your earliest convenience to touch upon those areas. The floor is open now for any questions in case anyone has any final sort of points they want to ask that haven't been touched upon. Please raise your hand if you've got any questions or find them in the chat that is now open, and we'll happily answer them. So just reading a question from Marley's mum. If we could put his availability on pitch side, could it be sent anywhere in the county? Can we request certain areas? So Chris will always aim to keep you as local as possible. If you live within Saffron Weldon, we're not going to send you up to Chatteris on a Saturday morning. Don't worry. Chris tries to work off a rough sort of 10-mile radius, particularly in areas where there's not a lot of teams. Depending on the fixtures, that may have to slightly stretch outside that, but that is very, very rare. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember where you live, Marley, off the top of my head. You Chatteris, March. So within March, there's loads of games. You've got Chatteris up the road. There's plenty of opportunities there. You are okay to decline a match if you feel it is too far. Please do let the appointment officer know. They will always try and reallocate you if possible. But there is plenty of games around there, particularly March. You've got the Peterborough Youth League and Junior Alliance, but you've also got the split of the Colts League that do play in the March region as well, and coming slightly south, Chatteris towards Ely as well, slightly. Peterborough away, you go Wisbeach and Wilsey and Thorney and around those areas. So there's plenty of opportunities in and around March. Thank you. Any other questions at all? If anyone thinks of anything after this session, please do drop me an email, and we'll happily get in touch. I'm working from home on a regular basis at the moment. We're not in the office, particularly after Boris's announcement earlier in the week. So if you do want to call me, best phone number to call me on is my mobile, because if I'm in the middle of a phone call or on another line, and you leave a voicemail on my office phone, I can't pick them up until someone goes in the office, which we can't guarantee is going to happen regularly. So please do give us a call on our mobile, and if you do have to leave a voicemail, I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Colin, I can see you've unmuted yourself. Have you got something you want to raise?
A couple of things. Don't forget, there's also the Girls' League. which extends all areas of the county.
Yeah, so there's the Girls' League that extends all areas of the county. At the moment, there is no appointments process for that, which is something I was hoping to get in place this summer. But if you sort of want to work around that and those fixtures work well with your own playing, let us know and we'll put you in touch with the clubs around you so that you can get those games in that place. That's a good point. Thank you, Colin.
Yeah, and the only thing I was going to say was, if you want to play that video, I might be able to play it here if you can show the screen. If you want to do it now, I don't know if people have had enough now or not, really.
Let's try it. I'll let you share your screen, Colin, if you've got it there, and we'll give them the opportunity to see if it works. If you try and overtake my screen, Colin, you should be able to do so. I'll give control to Colin. There we go. I'm going to stop presenting. You should be able to go ahead, Colin, and share that screen if you can. There we go. So if it works, have a look at this clip. Let us know your thoughts and opinions, and we'll give that feedback. If it continues to jump, just drop us your views in an email. Fire away, Colin. Oh, this looks a lot clearer. So try and consider there, is that a careless tackle, reckless tackle, or an excessive force tackle? And if so, why? So we'll watch it again. So get some thoughts in the chat or raise your hand and we'll come to you if you want to speak. Good to see Richard jumping in there and typing. I was getting concerned no one was going to comment then. Careless, it goes to the ball but just clips the player afterwards. Okay. Can you try and pause it on the tackle, Colin? Just to give that freeze frame. Close enough. Reckless because he jumps in at shin height. So try and remember those key phrases that we used as well. Okay, and try and remember how we describe those careless, reckless, or excessive force challenges. Because when we're talking to managers, we want to use those because that reaffirms our decision and shows to them that we know what we're talking about. Red card was off the floor. It was dangerous and excessive. So we've got careless, we've got reckless, and we've got excessive force. We've ticked all three boxes here. I think Richard's writing about an essay on this, I think, because he's still going. Careless, clumsy, he tried to play the ball but followed through and caught the player. Okay. We'll just wait for Callum. I didn't type a message. I think reckless because he's gone in with his stud showing. Colin, I'm going to come to you on this one. My throat's starting to hurt, so I'm going to let you describe this one as best you can.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we've got you.
Right. Yeah. Well, in my opinion, that is excessive force because the player has clearly gone over top of the ball, and as the yellow player goes to kick the ball, his studs would make contact with that yellow player round about the shin height. So to my way of thinking, that is excessive force. But one of the key factors there is the red player has got his legs straight, so all the weight of his body is behind that challenge. So there's only ever going to be one person injured there, and that is the yellow player. So I would suggest that that is excessive force and would more or less, I would expect that to be a red card. That's my opinion, for what that's worth.
I completely agree, Colin. I'm glad you've said that. One thing to consider there as well, if Colin just shifts it back about half a second, because if you see the distance to which the tackle is coming, he's coming quite close. He's not coming from a great distance, but in order for him to get down low and to win the ball like he has, he's got to lunge in slightly as well, which is what's caused that. If you watch his leg, it's slightly bent there and it will outstretch if Colin plays it. In order to get that motion there, he's got to go from bent leg to straight leg, and he's slightly lunged, and that front foot is off the floor there as well. One thing we spoke about during this session when we did it in real time is how we can identify these tackles taking place. And if, Colin, you flick it back to another phase, and if you watch the ball from red 2, it's not the greatest of passes in the world. It's gone nowhere near where he wanted it to go. If you watch there, it's in the middle of 2 players. There's always going to be a collision of that type take place. There's always going to be a slight lunging motion. That's going to be a red flag for us, because the ball's in the middle there of 2 players. And if you see there, that freeze there, that was perfect. It showed the severity of the tackle, how high it was on that player. It shows that the danger that one